Welcome to the Husavina border, come see what we got. Контрабанда, охрана до Версай. Жигата пойдет черги за тихий час. Лачи руменца, провинта, яго.
As a new Peace Corps volunteer moving to the largest country in Central Asia, Kazakhstan, I felt woefully unprepared. I did not speak a word of Kazakh or Russian. Of course, I was a little nervous when I found out that I'd be visiting my host family after only 3 days in this new country. But, having the numbers 1 through 5 under my belt, and how are you in Russian, I marched confidently into my new home. Naturally, that weekend involved a lot of pointing and pantomiming. But over time, I got to know my family, who is actually Turkish, a little bit better each day.
In every corner of this town.
As the days went by, I continued to go to a 6-day-a-week language lesson, and gradually my Russian began to improve. Each day I'd go home enthusiastically to show my host grandmother the new words I had learned, and she'd smile her big smile and give me a pat on the head. She would then critique me in what I could only imagine was a level of Russian I could not understand.
The only way to go is through the roof.
The family I lived with was a large one, consisting of a father who never seemed to be home, a very busy mother, and 3 children, one of which was going through her sweet 16, I am entitled to everything phase. So it was with my host grandmother that I felt the largest connection with. She was my motivation for learning Russian. She was such a wonderful listener and never seemed to be in a hurry, a vast departure from the busy lives of the rest of the family.
We realize the difference is none.
My 3-month homestay flew by. The day came when I had to say goodbye to my host family. It was time to go to my primary site, which was a 30-hour train ride away. As I said goodbye to my host grandmother, she gave me a big smile and a pat on the head, and said some big Russian word, of which there were many, that I could only assume meant that I had come a long way. Confident that she was proud of my progress in Russian, I turned to face the 2-day train ride and the place I would ultimately live for the next 2 years.
Through the roof, underground.
Time passed in my new site. Each day I had opportunities to practice my Russian, buying food at the bazaar, getting shashlik at the local restaurant, or taking the bus to school. One day I realized that my Russian was actually decent. I was able to have conversations with people about basic things like the weather or my home in North Dakota. I decided that it was time to visit my host family. It was going to be nice to have a real conversation with my family and show my host grandmother how far I had progressed. So I jumped on the train. They were delighted to see me and prepared me a grand feast. As I was eating some plov, discussing work with my host father, my host grandmother walked in and I enthusiastically yelled, "Привет, babushka! Как дела? Что нового?" Hey grandma, what's new? She just smiled and patted me on the head, and said something that was clearly not in Russian and walked away. Confused, I turned towards my host father who explained, "Она не говорит по-русски, она турецкий, она только говорит по-турецки." She doesn't speak Russian. She's Turkish. She only speaks Turkish. Well, at least there's next year.